This clay jar can generate electricity right now, today, and it was buried in Iraq nearly 2,000 years before anyone invented the battery. Here's what you're actually looking at: a simple ceramic pot, a rolled copper cylinder inside it, and an iron rod sitting in the center of that cylinder. That's it. No wires, no switches, nothing that looks remotely modern. But fill it with an acidic liquid, something as ordinary as vinegar or grape juice, and this setup becomes what scientists call a galvanic cell. The same basic principle sitting inside every battery in your house right now. Let's start with how we even found this thing. In 1936, workers excavating near Baghdad uncovered this object at a site called Kujut Rabu, close to the ancient city of Ctesiphon, the capital of the Parthian Empire. The director of the Iraq Museum at the time, Wilhelm Koenig, examined it and noticed something odd. The copper and iron were positioned exactly the way you'd build a battery if you were trying to build one. Koenig wasn't just looking at a jar with metal inside it. He was looking at a jar built with a level of intentional precision that seemed hard to explain any other way. The copper cylinder was rolled and sealed carefully. The iron rod sat centered and isolated exactly where it would need to be for a chemical reaction to occur cleanly between the two metals. So here's the part that gets genuinely interesting. This isn't speculation about whether the jar could work as a battery. Engineers have built exact replicas, filled them with acidic liquid, and measured the output directly. It works. Modern tests, including ones done for television, have generated real, measurable voltage, roughly 1 to 2 volts, using nothing but the same materials and design available in ancient Mesopotamia. Think about what that actually means. This isn't a maybe if you squint situation. The physics checks out completely. The only real question left is whether ancient Parthian craftsmen understood what they'd built or stumbled onto it by accident. Now here's where it gets complicated because historians are genuinely split on this. One leading theory suggests these jars were used for electroplating, running a small current to deposit a thin layer of gold onto silver objects, something ancient goldsmiths in the region were known to produce. If true, that would mean this technology was being used practically, centuries before anyone in the Western world understood electricity at all. Researcher Alexander Bazes has even proposed a variation on this idea, suggesting the jar may have functioned as 2 batteries combined into a single vessel, effectively doubling the potential output for whatever it was actually being used for. Other researchers have floated an entirely different possibility, that these devices delivered mild electric shocks intentionally, used in religious or medical contexts where an unexplained jolt of sensation might have been interpreted as something mystical or healing. But there's a real problem with that theory. Archaeologists haven't found electroplated objects from this specific period and region that would confirm it. No wiring, no diagrams, no written description anywhere in Parthian texts describing what this jar was for. So skeptics argue something much simpler. Maybe it was just a container, a jar that once held a sacred scroll, sealed with bitumen for preservation, and the copper and iron arrangement inside is coincidental rather than intentional. This is a genuinely reasonable position, by the way, not just stubborn dismissal. Archaeologists have found similar scroll jars throughout the region from the same era, and a default explanation of ceremonial or storage object is often the right call when clearer evidence doesn't exist. The debate isn't between wild speculation and sober science. It's between 2 plausible readings of the exact same physical object. Here's what makes this genuinely frustrating, though. We may never get a final answer because the original artifact was lost during the chaos of the 2003 invasion of Iraq. Whatever new testing methods get invented in the future, they can't be run on the real thing anymore. Everything we know now is everything we're ever going to know. Compare that to how modern archaeology usually works. New scanning technology, new chemical analysis, new dating methods. These tools keep improving every few years, and they regularly help researchers extract new information from artifacts that were already studied decades earlier. That entire path is closed here. Whatever secrets that specific jar held about how it was actually used are gone along with it. So which is it? A forgotten piece of ancient electrical engineering, or an ordinary storage jar that happens to look exactly like a battery by pure coincidence? Nobody can prove it either way anymore. What we do know for certain is that the design works. Whether that was the plan or the luckiest accident in the history of ceramics is a question history simply refuses to answer.